they are consuming day after day are depressing their sexual function. Then researchers they looked in a fertility clinic, and this is in Rochester, New York, and what they found is that some of the men had a little bit of cheese, some had a lot of cheese. The men having the most cheese had the lowest sperm counts, worst sperm morphology, meaning shape, and the worst sperm motility, meaning can they swim straight. These traces of estrogens in dairy products apparently can affect a man's fertility. You with me? Is this making sense? So a 6-year-old boy is drinking a glass of milk, and his 7-year-old sister is drinking a glass of milk and eating cheese and so forth. They're getting estrogens. They're not labeled on the carton. And if their mother or father knew it was there, they would probably say, we don't want them to have this stuff. Okay, it's not labeled. All right. Okay, men, while I have your attention, Hank goes into the doctor's office, and he says, Doc, I'm having trouble with my nature. The doctor says, what are you asking me? And he says, Doc, I can't raise the flag. Oh, I get it. You need Viagra. Yes, exactly. So the doctor writes out a Viagra prescription for erectile dysfunction, and the man says, thank you, and he walks out the door. And if this is a good doctor, he will drop his pen, race out the door after the patient, and try to capture him before he goes down the elevator to say, come back, I forgot to tell you the most important thing. The guy comes back, he sits down, and the doctor explains to him, the reason that you have erectile dysfunction is not performance anxiety. The reason that you have erectile dysfunction is you have a disease called atherosclerosis. What I mean to say is you've got a high cholesterol level that day after day has been causing your arteries to get narrow. And erectile dysfunction is caused by narrowed arteries to your private parts. Are you with me? Yeah. See, the male sexual anatomy is a hydraulic system. It was obviously devised on a Monday because things are going wrong with it all the time. But if you don't have good blood supply, nothing works right. So anyway, a man gets narrowed arteries to his private parts, and then he can't function sexually. And what the doctor explains to him is if you have narrowed arteries down there, you've got narrowed arteries in your heart, in your coronary arteries. And you've got narrowed arteries in the carotids going to your brain, meaning that you're at higher than normal risk for a heart attack or stroke within the next 5 years. Take Viagra if you want to, but before you leave, I want you to make an appointment with a dietitian to learn about the only kind of diet we know of that reverses that disease. And that's a diet that does not have animal fat in it or cholesterol in it and allows the arteries to open up again so that you can actually prevent the heart attack, prevent the stroke, and even then reverse the ED without medications. In our research studies, it's one of the most common side effects that we have when men go on a vegan diet is that their sexual function starts to come back to normal. Okay, note to self, skip the cheese. So does something else affect our hormones? You have a way, we've talked about how fatty foods cause your body to make more estrogens and how dairy products have estrogens. But did you know that your body has a way of getting rid of excess harmful hormones? It does. There's your liver, that big red thing at the top, and your liver filters your blood and it removes excess estrogens and sends them through that little green bile duct into the intestinal tract. And that's where fiber, high fiber foods, grab a hold of the estrogen and carry it out with the waste. You're literally flushing away excess estrogens. But what if your lunch was salmon or chicken breast or yogurt? Is there fiber in those foods? Is there? No, because they're not from plants. Fiber is plant roughage. It's in beans and vegetables and fruits and whole grains, but it's not in animals because animals aren't plants. So if a woman has no fiber in her diet, the estrogen still comes down from the liver into the intestinal tract, but it is reabsorbed back into the bloodstream and it ends up back in circulation. So a woman who has a low-fiber, animal-based diet has excess estrogens that she cannot get rid of until her friend says, let's go vegan today, and suddenly she's got lots of fiber in her diet and the estrogen is just flushed away the way nature thought it would be. Okay, makes sense? So, Spam, fiber or no fiber? Are you sure? Okay, let's see. There's the trash can. We can put that down there. All right. KFC, fiber or no fiber? Are you sure? Okay, there's some in the carton there. If you ate the container, it's actually healthier than the KFC, so that's going to go too. Now you can take something that started out as a plant, but they then gradually refined it all and removed all the fiber, and the fiber can be gone there too. All right, so I think you got it. So one other thing, a researcher named Dan Kramer at Harvard University did an interesting study. He was interested in how women lose their fertility. As you know, when a woman is 22 or 23, she's at maximum fertility, but when she's 49, her fertility is much less. Now, a lot of young women, they might be 22, 25, and they say, well, I know this would be biologically the best time for me to raise my family, but I'm in the middle of my career. I don't want to have a family now, I'll do that later on. And when she reaches 35, her mother says, sweetheart, your biological clock is ticking. You can't put this off forever. And she thinks, it's true. So what Dan Kramer looked at is how women lose their fertility over time. And what he did is he looked at different countries, and he looked at women between their late 20s and their late 30s. In Thailand is a country where dairy products are not part of the tradition. People don't eat a lot of ice cream and grilled cheese sandwiches in Thailand. They eat a more plant-based diet, but dairy is really not favored. And the drop in fertility for women from their late 20s to their late 30s is about 25%. In Brazil, there's more dairy products consumed, and the drop in fertility is around 50%. And in the United States, where girls are raised with 3 glasses of milk a day and yogurt and so forth, the drop in fertility during that interval is about 80%. And he then filled in a lot of other countries, and the pattern is not perfect. But what we think is happening is that milk is interfering with fertility. And in this case, it's not the estrogen, we don't think. I think it's something called galactose. The milk sugar is lactose. And in fact, if you add up all the nutrients that are in a glass of milk, the number one is sugar, lactose. There's more of that than there is of calcium or protein or even fat. And in your digestive tract, it breaks apart to release galactose and glucose, and that galactose is toxic to the ovary, we believe. There are some kids who can't eliminate galactose, and they become rapidly infertile. If the galactose can damage the ovary, it might do a lot worse things than just cause infertility. It might cause ovarian cancer. And this is what researchers did. In a research study in Sweden, they looked at women who consumed less than 2 servings of dairy a day, all the way up to 4 or more, and they showed the more dairy women eat, the higher their risk of ovarian cancer. So what we think is happening is that cow's milk was designed to feed a calf for a very short period of time, just a matter of a few months. Human milk has lactose too, but it's designed to feed a baby for just a short time, maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years, but not forever. And if a child is exposed to this year after year after year after year, the galactose ends up being a toxin that can attack the woman's ovaries and make her infertile in the short run and have ovarian cancer in the longer run. Okay, so we've talked about cramps and endometriosis and infertility. Well, what about breast cancer? Well, estrogens are sneaky hormones. Those little pink dots, that's estrogens, and that's a breast cell. The estrogens can sneak through the breast cell membrane, and it can go all the way through the nuclear membrane and attach to your DNA. And once that estrogen attaches to your DNA, it can cause it to break into cancer cells that then spread throughout your body and can kill you. Yes, what I'm saying is that your own body's estrogen can kill you. This is true of all hormones. You need a little estrogen, not too much. A little bit of thyroid hormone, not too much. A little bit of insulin, not too much. Your body has to stay in balance for good health. All hormones can kill you if you get too much of them. So this is a combination of 9 studies looking at postmenopausal women. The more they have estrogen in their blood, the higher their likelihood of having breast cancer. Okay, so what we want to do is reduce that by going on a low-fat, high-fiber, completely animal-free diet, and that gets your hormones back in balance. Does this work? Researchers did a big study called the WIN study, Women's Intervention Nutrition Study, in women previously diagnosed with breast cancer. And they had just one thing on their mind: I hope my cancer never comes back. And they gave them a low-fat diet, 15% fat from calories, and what they showed is that it reduced the likelihood of cancer recurrence by 24%, and that was true whether their cancers were estrogen receptor negative or positive. This was not quite even a vegetarian diet, but it still showed the power of this. If you get the animal products out of your diet completely, would it be even more powerful? Absolutely. Okay, so researchers have also then looked at women who have previously been diagnosed with breast cancer and their milk consumption. And it turns out that the women who consume the most high-fat dairy products, including whole milk or butter or cheese, whole-fat yogurt, ice cream, have much higher likelihood of dying of cancer than those who avoid those products. This was a study done in California. All of the participants had been diagnosed with cancer in the past, but those who consumed high-fat dairy were 49% more likely to die of their cancer compared to the women who avoided dairy products. You don't want those estrogens. Don't let it go down your esophagus, okay? Okay, do you hear people talk about soy? What do you hear them say? Oh, that it's got hormones in it? Is it bad for women? Might cause cancer? Does it do something to men? What does it do to them? Man boobs? What's that? Oh, yeah, you know, it's true. You can go online and you'll see men are concerned about having a little breast augmentation that the other guys see in the locker room. And they're thinking, what is this? The idea, the mythology was that it's caused by soy products. And what they're saying is, it's sort of, what is true is that soy products contain what are called isoflavones. Genistein is the most common.